Hey, this is Paul with Diamond State Fly Co. Gonna tie a quick streamer for you guys today. One that I've been messing around with over the holiday. Got to get out, do a little fishing, catch some browns on the river. Um, yeah, I call it the Mashed Tater, a little Thanksgiving special. Yeah, let's get to it. So we're gonna tie this fly in a little bit different color scheme than what I've got in the vise right now. We're gonna do kind of an olive and brown and a little more of a sculpin-y look. But our hooks that we're gonna use on this, gonna start off with the Fulling Mill streamer stripper hook in a size 4 for our back hook, and then we're gonna jump up to a 2 for our front. From there, we're just gonna lay down a little thread base of UTC 140. Using brown on this one today, and yeah, really it's just a quick woolly bugger variation, quick guide streamer that I can tie a bunch of real quick without worrying about spending 30 minutes on a fly. So to start, I'm going to come in with some Nature Spirit Marabou. This is just their plain old olive. I just took kind of the top tip section off of that feather, and I'm just going to tie it straight in like I would a woolly bugger tail. And run some of that stem up. Get our underbody, and then I'll trim my excess real quick. From there, I'm just going to put in a couple pieces of holographic Flashabou. And just fold them around my thread, place them right on top of that shank, and run them right back into my marabou here. Now, I'm going to trim them just a touch longer than my marabou, so that way when I'm fishing it, the fish can see it. It's not just blending in with my marabou tips. Gives just a little something extra back there that might convert some of those follows into eats. Next, I'm going to come in with some of our MFC barred marabou. And this, I can't even tell what color it is. I think it's the olive brown with black bars. Killer color accents, having black barring as well. There's nothing in nature is a solid color, so we're going to keep mixing in little subtle color changes here and there. So we got our marabou tied in for our tail. That feather, I left the tip in it a little too much, so I'm just going to pop it right out of there so it doesn't look too blocky in the water. From here, I'm going to take either polar chenille, or in this case I'm using some Senio's Aquaveil. This is the peanut brittle color, and I'm basically going to just tie a woolly bugger body with it without the kind of big bulky chenille. So I'm going to make open spiral wraps. And I'm kind of weird. I counter wrap my polar chenilles most of the time just because that's how it always seems to want to lay back the easiest for me. I know a lot of people like going over the front of the shank with it. Just tie that off real quick and trim away. And I always tie back over that just a touch. A little bit. Okay, got that all tied together. Now we're going to take just a barred olive rubber leg, fold it around our thread, and one little trick that I learned with this material specifically is if you want to make sure your bars are facing out, because one side of the rubber leg's barred darker than the other one. You want to make sure those are facing out. You fold that rubber leg with the bars facing in toward you around your thread, and they'll be facing out once you tie them in every time. So I'm going to pin those back in my materials clip. Next I'm going to come in with a barred MFC or slop and feather. Yeah. Just preen those fibers down a little bit. Find a nice little clean tie-in point here. Tie it in. I fold my tips back just to reinforce them a little bit when I tie in. And then before I go and wrap this, I like to run my scissors down that stem. Just helps everything fold in place a little nicer for me. Now I'm going to wrap my slop and feather forward. Separate my fibers till I find my good clean tie-in. 2 wraps behind, 2 wraps in front to lock it in. And trim it right out. Now I'm just going to wrap my thread back over some of that feather to really reinforce it, keep it where teeth aren't going to catch it real easy, and to kind of tame down that feather a little bit and marry it into my polar chenille or my aqua veil. From there, that's our back hook done. I'm going to go ahead and whip finish. Just in case. We are dealing with pretty good sized brown trout here on the white, and they are toothy. So every once in a while they can catch you if you only have one whip finish on there. I'm going to trim my legs so that they come about halfway down the length of my tail. And from here, we're going to pull this guy out, set it on the magnet for a second, and we're going to come up to our size 2 for our front hook. On our front hook, we have a large brass cone, and I'm going to get a little bit of .030 lead wire just to kind of push everything into that cone and jam it forward. I'm going to make about 10 wraps or so. I'm just going to helicopter that off. Got it all wedged in there so my cone's nice and tight to my hook eye. And I'm going to start my thread right behind my leg. Now I'm just going to build a little thread cone in behind it and work my way up on top of that lead so I can start to lock that all down without it sliding and separating apart really bad. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and spin my bobbin clockwise, and now I'm going to lay down uneven thread wraps, and I'm going to do this so that my articulation wire has something to bite into, so that when I go to cinch on it, that coating, that plastic coating, kind of has a little more grab. Doesn't want to pull out at all or anything like that. Alright, so I run my wire down my bend just slightly, not much. Just helps with fouling a little bit. And now we're going to put on one of the new MFC teardrop beads. We've been using these in the shop for, I don't know, about a month or so, and it's been giving our streamers kind of a nice little simpler action as far as like the swim goes. I like that it has some taper built into it. And only having to use one bead instead of two, I am not going to complain because I'm a fishing guide. I don't make a bunch of money. Let's go ahead and whip that all down. And now I'll double it back just to reinforce everything. Take my junk scissors, snip that excess. And now when I go to wrap over the edge of it, I really back off my thread pressure, just because the ends of that wire can be really sharp. You got your thread. We've all seen plenty of videos where it happens. I've done it plenty of times trying to film. Alright, just got everything cleaned up with a nice clean thread base laid down. Now I've got just kind of the butt section of that original marabou feather that I used for my tail. I'm going to tame down some of it and try and get as little of the stem as possible. So you can kind of see what we're working with. Got a nice clean little fan of marabou. What I'm going to do here is run my thread forward just slightly. Now I'm going to take my marabou and just kind of roll it back and forth around that shank. Slowly manipulate it so eventually it's just kind of 360 degrees around my shank. Transfer hands and pinch. Take a loose thread wrap, 1, 2 of those, and now I can cinch that down and start to work my thread forward, and that gives us a nice clean veil of marabou without having to palmer or do a whole lot of work. I mean, you can see it's all the way around and just quick little guide fly hack. And there, I don't need this part to be the cleanest underbody because it's all going to get covered up. So we're going to go back to our polar chenille or our aqua veil. And on the back hook, we did open spirals to kind of keep everything nice and light and wispy so we get a little bit more movement out of that. On the front hook, we're kind of jamming everything in the front here, giving a little bit more bulk, a little bit more movement, and just a little thicker profile. So we're going to do touching wraps with our aqua veil here. Just brush back with each subsequent wrap. Tie off, wrap over it twice, in front of it twice, trim it out, and I just, again, tie slightly back over the top of it. Now we're ready for rubber legs again. We're going to take 2 on the front hook versus 1 on the back hook. And same deal, we can see that we've got a barred side and a non-barred side of that rubber leg. I'm going to take the barred side facing toward me, fold it around my thread, pinch, and place that right on top of the hook shank. Now, I'm going to take one side, pull it towards me, pin it down and back with 2 thread wraps. Same deal with the other one. I'm going to pull it down, back with a couple thread wraps, pin it back in my materials clip. Alright, so here, we're going to take another schlop and feather, and we're going to palmer it in. Just to keep our color variance going. Same deal, I'm going to run my scissors down that stem of that feather. And get that stuff tamed back out and wrap back. Convenient, that stem broke right as I tied it off and still had tension on it so it didn't fall out. Sometimes you get lucky. Alright, so we've got that palmered in. I wrap back over it. I'm going to go a little touch more. That looks good. Run my thread back forward just a touch. Okay, so now we're going to do the same kind of marabou wing on top here so that we keep our color pattern. And I want all of this to just kind of bleed back together. So I've got that light olive kind of bleeding into my tail back here a little bit. Now I want this just slightly shorter than that light olive so we still see that color variance. So right about there looks where I want to be. Go ahead and transfer hands. And tie in my marabou wing. Give it a little rotation, make sure that it looks how I want it to before I completely commit. Looks good to me. Give it a little pull toward me. Bring it down just a little bit on the side. And now we'll trim out our stem, clean up a little bit. Now for our head, we're going to keep it nice and simple. Just to get a little bit of push out of it, I like using laser dub. I've used it for years and years and years now, and it's been awesome. It comes in so many different colors, so you can make whatever color pattern you want. So we're going to go olive first, and then a little bit of sculpin olive, and then we'll give it bars with a Sharpie. So I'm going to take a decent sized clump of olive, not super thick, because we're going to do two kind of veils here. So I like to spread my laser dub when I'm going in kind of a 360-degree fashion, spread it into a sheet like that, and then I can take it and kind of veil it around and take one loose thread wrap, two loose thread wraps, cinch it down, and kind of brush it back while I'm under tension, wrap forward of it a couple times, and then we'll tease it out with our comb. Started doing this when I was in Alaska because we tied a lot of kind of graboid type stuff, and this was the fastest way to do that body for me versus doing a loop and picking everything out. This was just nice and easy and a good way to get a good clean veil around your fly. So next we're going to go sculpin olive. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to finish slightly different than I just did with that regular olive because I want to make sure I don't have much of a gap behind this cone when it's in the water. Fish probably don't care. I do. got my thin sheet of laser dub again. Got it folded. One loose wrap, two loose wraps, and now when I go to tighten this all the way, I'm going to pull toward my cone like this. And that's going to suck everything in. I'll wrap forward of it a couple times, and now I'm going to go ahead and whip finish. One and two of them just for insurance. Go ahead and comb this out again. Okay, now I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm just going to kind of match up the bars of that barred marabou on that laser dub. We got bars in there. Now I'm going to take a little stripe down the top. Give me a little darker head. Okay, we'll comb through that one more time. Kind of blend our marker in a little bit. And last thing I've got to do is just trim those rubber legs a little bit. And there we have it. Mashed tater. Yeah, a little mashup of a circus peanut and a peanut envy. Had on the Fulling Mill streamer stripper hooks. Go ahead and tie you one up. Get some MFC barred marabou and slopping. They fish great. Thanks for watching. Restart one more time. I just burped to start.